Hello everybody, welcome back to the stream. So today we're going to be working on player skills. So this is one of the big things that I need to figure out for this multiplayer prototype is how I want the player skills to work. So there's a debate in my mind between making player skills innate to whatever class you choose or innate to the weapon. And I think I've decided that I'm going to make it innate to the weapon. And that's just going to, I think that's going to be a little bit more interesting in terms of mixing and matching things. And also it's going to be simpler because it's a lot easier to say, well, like a leap slam ability exists on a two-handed hammer versus like trying to make a leap slam work if you're wielding a wand and a shield or something, you know what I mean? So the idea is that I don't want to gate any equipment to any specific class. So if you want to be, for instance, a warrior and use a wand or something, I want to enable that. And that means that if I make the abilities innate to the classes, then it's going to be a little bit hard to come up with abilities that will just work for every weapon type. So instead, we'll make the abilities on the weapons, at least for now, and then I'll see how that goes. But we're going to get into that in just a second here. Before I do, I want to remind everyone that I have Gunforged available for sale on Steam. So 44 reviews, 95% positive, which is great. So go ahead and purchase that if you want to support my work or if Gunforged looks like a fun game to you. And if you do play it, consider leaving a review because that helps quite a bit. Also, I've got my Udemy courses available for sale. You could check those out. Those are linked in the description below as well. All of those are great ways to support me. So, with all that out of the way, let's go ahead and get started. Hold on a second. There we go. Hello, Hori Portier. Welcome back. Great to see you. How are you doing? So what I've done is I've already actually set up some of the code for this. So in my paper doll data here, I have this has weapon skill, and this is just going to determine, so there's a weapon type enum here, and the skill will be determined by the weapon type. So has weapon, skill, weapon type, and then I'm checking for the slot. So the idea is that if you've got two one-handed weapons, you might have a sword in one hand and a dagger in the other hand, and those are interchangeable, right? So the dagger might go in your main hand or your offhand. So I need to be able to say, do I have this weapon type at this slot? And that's what allows me to determine if I'm going to trigger the skill. In the player input component, I have an action skill main hand, and that action skill main hand corresponds to Q for now. Obviously, that will be rebindable in the future, but that input flag gets set is main hand skill pressed here. And then in the player, I have to figure out how I want to actually do these abilities, because the ability that I'm doing for the halberd is a spin to win move where you're going to start spinning and dealing constant damage. And it's very tricky to control the player from outside of the player script. So I'm actually tempted to just put all of the ability functionality inside of the player, at least any abilities that require the player to enter a different attack state. I think I'm just going to put those in a player script. So this state skill halberd here is a state in the state machine, and this is actually entered. Where is this entered? Oh, handle skill input, right. So in handle skill input here, what I'm doing is I'm saying, okay, if the main hand skill is pressed and we have the weapon skill for the halberd here, so I'm passing in that weapon type enum halberd, then it's going and transitioning to that state. So obviously I need to do stuff like have skill costs and everything, but that's essentially what I've got so far. And so if I go ahead and run the game, I need to figure out the animation still. So that's going to be probably the next thing that I do. But you can see here, actually, this is going to be easier if I do this. Entity spawner component, put this back up to 5. Okay, run this. Hello, MP. Are you planning on doing things like client prediction, server rewind, etc.? Yeah, that is already implemented. So I'm using NetFox for that. So that is already implemented. And of course, I'm going to need to continue to do work to make sure that it works. But yeah, that's what the player movement and stuff is using. Okay, so now if I hit Q, you can see that I'm starting to deal damage in an area around me. There's no visuals associated with that, but that is what we got going. So when I press Q, that happens. So let me do it again. So if I press Q, boom, 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 boom. So there's a circle that's being generated, a circular hitbox that's being generated that's hitting all these things. And so I just need to do some stuff like animations and make it have a duration and all that stuff. And all that good stuff. So let's go back to the player. Let's figure out how to do all that. From where did I learn Godot? I learned Godot through trial and error because I adopted Godot in the 3.0 alpha days. So there wasn't a whole lot of documentation even then, and there weren't a whole lot of tutorials, especially for the new 3.0 version. So I basically just like tried to build stuff in Godot and just worked through the bugs and asked questions of people who knew the engine better than I did, and that's how I learned it. What's client prediction? Client prediction is basically, so in a typical server architecture, in like a naive implementation. So let me back up. If you want to have a server authoritative game, in other words, the server owns the game state and make sure that clients aren't engaging in any funny business, the typical way to do that is you have the client send their inputs to the server. So the client, like you'll send your movement input to the server. So if you're using WASD controls, you'll generate maybe a movement vector from that, or maybe you'll just send each individual button press over to the server, and then the server moves that player, that corresponding player on its end, and then broadcasts the update back to the client. So the problem though is you get a round trip issue, which is that if you've got 100 milliseconds one-way ping, then it will take you 200 milliseconds to see any movement as the result of your input, and that obviously doesn't feel very good. So what client-side prediction is it's a way of moving the player instantly on their screen, assuming that they are moving validly and that that's going to be a valid movement in accordance with what the server does. And so the server will then simulate that movement or do that movement. The client simulates that movement, and then there's a reconciliation that happens and says, okay, for this network tick, the player tried to move in this manner. Does that agree with how the server decided to move the player? If yes, then you don't need to do anything. And if no, then the player's position or state will be reset in accordance with the server authority. So that's like kind of like a basic overview. There's a lot more complexity than that, but client-side prediction is just a way of getting the player to move instantaneously on their screen, remove that input lag, and then, you know, work off the assumption that those are valid movements, but then have the server also do that validation and simulation on its end as well. It is not 10 o'clock yet. Yeah, the problem is I get up too early and then I just end up sitting around from like, I'm like 9 o'clock, I'm ready to go. And it's like, what am I supposed to do? So, yeah. Hello, my Kundev. Legit, thank you. You're welcome. And welcome to the stream, by the way. Okay, so let's see. So I need an animation here. Might also bump up this radius here. So this is very sloppy. I want to find a way of defining skills in a more encapsulated way instead of sticking it all in the player here. But, you know, one thing at a time. One thing at a time. So I need to be able to play an animation. How do I actually want to do this? Base weapon. I wonder if I should put it in here. Oh man, this is going to be difficult. This is going to be difficult. What happens if I... Hands component, look at root. This game is going to be very difficult in some places. I think what might be good is play halberd animation. So maybe if I do, I'm going to try this first. Public void play skill animation. And we're going to do weapon resource dot weapon type enum weapon type switch weapon type case weapon resource dot halberd play halberd skill, and we're going to get rid of, we're going to do this as well. Okay, cool. Let's call break here, or not call break, write break. I don't know if we need a finish signal. Let's go ahead and down here. So I got play halberd animation, private void play, whoops, play halberd skill animation. Okay. Can I do dot loops? Okay, so I think what I'll do is I'll take this attack animation tween property animation root position. We'll do 8 over 0 on the Y. Wind up duration. There is no wind up duration here, so I don't know. Just hard code that for now, I suppose. Tween.parallel dot set dot tween property. Can I do dot set loops here? No. So I wonder if I do dot set loops 0. Animation root rotation degrees 360. Oh, this is not going to work, is it? Well, we'll see. So play halberd skill animation. Cool. All right. So let's just go ahead and go into the player here. Private void display enter skill halberd. Rewindable state. Previous state. Long tick. And what do I do here? Dot attack. So hand component dot attack. Play attack animation. Public void play skill animation. Bool for offhand. Still not entirely sure on all this stuff, but we're just going to move forward and we'll clean it up as necessary. Public void play skill animation. Weapon dot Now this is going to be a problem if I need to animate the player ever, so this is going to be a mess. Actually, play skill animation. Let's fill this in here. Weapon to play skill animation. I already have the weapon resource, right? So I already have the weapon resource type. So weapon resource dot weapon type. So I don't need to pass this in. Yeah. Okay. So weapon, so we'll just call play skill animation. There we go. So down here, display enter skill halberd, I can do hands component dot play skill animation. I'm still not handling whether it's offhand or main hand yet, so that's going to be something that I need to do, but I wonder what that's going to do. So I should, if I did it right, I should see a rotation happening. Hello, Fiskets. Just caught the stream early. Hope you all are doing well. I'm doing well. How are you? I'm doing fine. Okay, so the skill animation did not play, and the reason is because I forgot to add this to the set and display enter state, display enter skill halberd. Okay. Oops. If you did you live stream the NetFox stuff? I would like to go back and watch that if you did. Yeah, I did it over several streams. I did end up, I mean, I did struggle with it a little bit. But yeah, if you go look at the VODs for this multiplayer, little multiplayer series that's happening, you'll definitely see it. Okay, so there's a couple of problems here. So one, that spin to win is not quite working. So it's not going to work anyway, the way that I want it to, but let's just go ahead and do this from 0. So that's obviously not correct. I want the player to spin. So that's the problem with this kind of animation here. So that's not right. Okay, so this is going to be very difficult, I think. What I probably need to do is I probably need to do a play halberd skill animation. I want it to tween the rotation degrees over to, let's see, animation root. Let's see, halberd, animation root, rotation group. Probably tween this to 45 degrees here. And we'll just do parallel. So that is just going to set up the halberd for doing a different animation. So I'm going to need to probably animate something else. So that's right. So that's going out forward. That's what I want. And then I want the whole thing to spin. So that means that what I'm probably going to need to do is create a tween in here. So this is the part where I need to come up with a better system for this, because otherwise I'm going to end up with the player script having tons of stuff. But if I do tween halberd skill tween, and I go down here and I say halberd skill tween dot, or question mark dot kill if valid, halberd skill tween dot equals create tween, halberd skill tween dot what? Halberd skill tween property. We're going to tween the hands component string property name dot rotation degrees. We're going to do 360 over 0.5 seconds from, oh, is it Is it going to break again? Come on. From... Why does this keep happening? This is not a syntax error. Please fix. Set loops 0. Okay. I have no clue if that's going to work, but let's see. So I'm going to rotate that entire hand component then. Does not work. And I think the reason is because I need to do, let's see, look at... Where is the look at? Flip and aim at. Look at global position. Look at root that global transform. What is the look at root? It's this. So I think what I need to do is rotate the look at root instead. The problem is that this look at root global transform is synchronized over the network, so I wonder if that's going to cause problems. I don't know if I can be animating that directly if it's going to be synchronized over the network. Shoot. The weapon, yeah, the weapon spinning like that, yeah. So the tricky part about this, not only is this tricky because I need to animate the player in accordance with whatever weapon they're using the ability on. So that's just complex in and of itself. Like, how do you manage that whole structure of saying, okay, I have this weapon and I need it to affect the player in this way? How do you do that without creating an absolute mess? So that's problem number one. But then the second problem is, how do I manipulate the things that I need to manipulate in a way that does not conflict with the networking? Because this look at root here is essentially what I need to, if I put the halberd in here, I think the look at root is essentially what I need to be rotating. But this is networked such that the transform is being updated. So what I might do instead is this look at root, this look at transform, maybe I should get rid of this. Flip and aim at. And there's some details about how NetFox works. Like, I don't think for the, let's see, rollback synchronizer. So the rollback synchronizer is what's coming through NetFox. Enable input broadcast. I may need to enable this input broadcast. So the thing is, I have no clue if that's going to break anything, though. That's the thing. The thing, what I could do is I could simply broadcast the mouse position. And in broadcasting the mouse position, I can derive where the look at root should be pointing, because the look at root points at the mouse position, and that's replicated across the players so that when you're playing with somebody else, you know like which direction they're aiming their weapon. So it's very basic. But the way that I'm synchronizing that is I'm actually sending the transform of that look at root over in the rollback synchronizer. But if I need to animate the look at root, that's going to be a problem. So what I might need to do is not synchronize the transform and only derive the transform based on the mouse position. But then Yeah, I might need to do that. I'm trying to think if there's a better way to do it. Okay, let's try it. So I'm going to remove that. Let's turn on input broadcast. So now I'm going to get the mouse position. The problem is these states, this state in the rewindable state machine, these states only run on the server and the client that owns the player that they're controlling. Which means that these state machines, they don't actually run on the dummy clients, so the clients that are controlled by other players, if you're not the server. So I can't put any sort of like visual update code in here, which means what I need to do is I need to derive that look@, transform in a process method instead. But I only want that to update. So flip and aim at here. I may do something a little bit tricksy here. So this flip and aim at essentially is what I need to be updating based on the mouse position. Test enemy. But that only should happen inside of the normal state here. So I don't want because if I'm animating that hands component so that it's spinning in a circle, I don't want it to be overridden by this mouse position. So really only if you're in a state normal, it should flip and aim at. So what I might do is I might actually go to my state machine state. This extends rewindable state, which does not override process. Also doesn't override ready at all. So I'm going to do something a little bit tricksy here. I'm going to do something a little bit tricksy. What I'm going to do is I'm going to override the ready method in here. Public override void ready. I'm going to create a delegate, private read only, public delegate void process delegate, process delegate, okay, we're going to say set process delegate is not equal to null, public override void process, process delegate dot invoke. Okay, and then what I can do in here is I can create a method in here. So public state machine state set process delegate. Why is that not working? Read-only field. Oh, read-only field. Oops. We'll put that down there then. So basically what I'm going to be able to do is I'm going to set a delegate that can invoke on every process on the state. Now the problem is though, let me think. I might rename this. This should be more indicating that this is only for visual purposes. So we're going to call this display process delegate. And I'm not going to set the process in the ready method here. I'm going to set it to false by default. Display process delegate. So in here, set display process delegate. Display process delegate. So now in display enter, set process, display process delegate is not equal to null. And then we're going to say set process to false when we exit the display. So when we enter the display, we're going to start processing if we have a display process delegate. When we exit the display state, we're just going to set it to false. So this is only going to run as long as we're in that proper display state and we have a display process delegate. So that means that in here, what I can do is I can say private void display process. I don't know how I want to word this, state normal. And then in here, hands component, flip and aim at player input component mouse position. Then down in here, set display process delegate, display process state normal. So now that I'm broadcasting all of those inputs to all of the clients are going to have the mouse position for every other client. And then as long as those clients are in the normal state, it's going to update the hands component position. At least that's how it's working in my little tiny brain. We will see. We will see how that actually ends up working. Okay, it's actually very choppy. Why is it choppy? I think probably because I have this tick interpolator. Yeah, I get rid of this look at transform there. Probably have to build in my own kind of interpolation. Because the input, the mouse position is only being updated. So I can change that for the client actually. So if I go to my player input component, I've got the process method. I'm gonna say mouse position is equal to, let's do this. Owner equals owner as player. Mouse position is equal to owner.get global mouse position. And then down in here, mouse position is equal to owner, get global mouse position. I'm not going to worry about safety here. So that still means that it's not going to be interpolated for clients. So on this client, what should happen is it should be updating smoothly now. So you can see that that's updating very smoothly. On the server, it's not choppy anymore. But for any client that joins, for any other clients, it's still going to be choppy. So if I join. Oh no. Wait a minute, did I do something wrong? Right. Display process state normal if controlled by peer ID is not equal to multiplayer manager.instance.multiplayer ID. And we're just going to return. So we're not going to do anything if we're not controlled. Well, actually. Wait, why is that? Oh, I think I'm thinking about this wrong. Broadcast. Oh, I think there's a problem here. I only need to process this if it's owned by the client. I think that's what I need to do. Okay. Okay, so you can see now that that's working properly. Now, is the mouse position not being... Let's get rid of that line. I think that line's wrong now. The problem was I was updating the mouse position on all the peers at the same time. Okay. So I don't know if this is very noticeable on screen, but if I'm on the client that's updating in real time, then my aim is very smooth. But on the server, which is the top left one, you might notice that the aiming is a little bit choppy. And that's because the tick interpolator here is the tick interpolator is no longer functional. I wonder if I can do a tick interpolation on player input component mouse position. I wonder if that would work. Let's take a gander. Let's take a gander at it. Nope. That is not working at all. So I might have to do my own interpolation for this. That's the thing. Rollback synchronizer. So I might need to do my own interpolation in here. Do I want to worry about that just yet? I don't think I want to worry about that interpolation. I think the main thing to figure out first is if this animation is going to work. So I guess I can just try that. What happens if I press Q now? Ooh, there we go. Okay. So we got something. Okay, so there we go. So that's basically what I was trying to accomplish by doing all that. It's not the prettiest animation. Obviously there needs to be a lot of VFX and stuff, but that is, oh my gosh, this, I can already tell this code base is going to be absolutely ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Well, it's fine. Get a couple of skills in the game first before I think about how to refactor all of it. But there we go. So there's the spin to win. Now I'm very curious to see what happens if I join. Oh, look at that. He's playing the spin to win too. Look at that, automatically synchronized. It's beautiful. Okay. So obviously there's no way to stop this, but okay. Let me check something here. Rollback synchronizer, what am I? I'm only synchronizing the global position, which is good. Velocity component, velocity, state machine, state, energy component. So I'm gonna do some things here. Let's move that up. Hands component, okay. Mouse position. May not want to synchronize the mouse position. Not entirely sure if that's relevant. Maybe I can just synchronize a direction instead, but we'll worry about that later. The tick interpolator doesn't work. I think the tick interpolator only works on properties that are in the rollback synchronizer state. It's obviously not working in terms of the mouse position here. So I don't think tick interpolator supports the input properties. So what I could do is probably just have to write the interpolation myself on the, write the interpolation myself for the mouse position to make that smoother on all the clients, but I don't think I'm going to worry about that just yet. Let me do something here. Private void display process skill halberd. Visuals.scale. Oh, here. So I'm going to create a new method in here. Let's see. Private void flip. Let's do vector to look at position. And we'll do this. Look at position dot x. Okay, so now I can call this flip player input component dot mouse position. Cool. And now what I can do here is I can flip that player based on where the halberd actually is at. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do var direction is equal to hands component. Am I rotating the hands component here? Yeah. So hands component dot rotation vector 2 dot right dot rotated. Okay, and then I'm going to say flip, and we're going to do center position plus direction. Okay. And then I need to add that to the display process of the skill halberd here. Set display process delegate, display process, skill halberd. I probably should not. I probably should start doing this now. For readability purposes. Okay. Actually might. Yeah, that's fine. Actually, you know what? Let's do this. Cool. All right. So now if I've done that correctly, I should see that the player is going to flip in the direction of the wherever the halberd is pointing. So as the player is spinning to win, he's flipping back and forth. Excellent. Okay. I might actually change that rotation direction. Hello, heart-coded. You are welcome. Good morning to you as well. So it's working. Yeah, it's working. I got to make the animations more impressive, but we got the spinning boys. Yes. Why does that seem like it didn't make a difference? Anyway, so there's a lot of, I'm trying not to make the animation stuff too messy, but so there's my spin to win. So I need there to be a way of exiting this state now. So I need some kind of duration, which is probably going to be hard-coded as well. Let's see. So skill halberd tick timer. This is the problem, is like if I put all the skills on the player, I'm going to end up with all kinds of weird stuff. So I need to, ideally, maybe I'd be able to instantiate. Yeah, I need some other way of driving the player with skills. I don't think this is not gonna be scalable, but let's just go ahead and add a tick timer component, skill halberd duration tick timer. We're gonna set this to 2. These tick timers are kind of interesting. So when you're doing timings that are gameplay related, you need to make sure that the ticks align. So I created a tick timer component, And basically this just, when you call start, it just logs what tick you started it on. And based on your configured wait time seconds, it will modify this wait time ticks value, which will not be the exact amount because ticks only happen 1/30th of a second. So if you have, for certain timings, it's actually not going to be the exact right number because, you know, you can only divide a second into 30 chunks by default with NetFox. So, but anyway, that's kind of a minor point. But I do have a way of checking, like if the thing was just stopped, if it's running for a tick, and this works with the rewind capabilities because it's not actually counting down, it's just storing when it was started. And then based on the tick that's passed in, it can tell, okay, is it past my wait time? So in here, tick timer component, skill halberd, duration tick timer. So let's go into the enter state halberd, skill halberd, duration tick timer dot start tick. And then what I can do in here is I can say if skill halberd duration tick timer dot is just stopped for tick and is fresh, we are going to cancel this halberd skill tween. I should do display exit. So private void display exit skill halberd rewindable state next state long tick. Set display exit state, display exit skill halberd, halberd skill tween dot kill if valid, and then also we are going to do what? Hands component dot cancel attack animation. Oh, for offhand, false. So this is going to cancel those. It's going to cancel any animations that are happening, which are none, but then it's going to start the recovery tween here to reset the position. So what I can do in here is I can say state machine dot transition to state normal. And that should be it. All right, let's see. So I should be able to spin to win for 2 seconds, and then it's going to put me back in the normal state, hopefully. Ooh, look at that. I'm back in the normal state. Awesome. So obviously if I had some better effects and whatnot, that would be, this would be a lot more satisfying, but the point is that the states are working. So if I join with this guy over here, let's see. It should work on both clients. Yeah, look at that. So now it's being synchronized properly, all the states and everything. So yeah, visuals are important. I'm gonna need to figure out what to do about that, but visuals are important. I also need to get like an energy cost in place for this skill. So the problem with the skills here is that I probably need some kind of skill resource so I can define things like what is the skill called, what weapon type is it associated with, things of that nature. And also what its energy cost is. But I think aside from like figuring out how to actually define and program the skill, aside from figuring out that question, I think you know, using these state machines is really, really nice. Very nice indeed, because then everything's just automatically synchronized, and as long as I put all the states and the exit states in the right spot, then everything should be good. So yeah. Halberd, spin to win. Hello, Luca, welcome back. So yeah, there's a lot of questions here. I don't know if I want to work on the animations just yet. I think I need to figure out the energy cost stuff now. That's kind of going to be the next big thing. I do think I probably need a skill resource to define weapon skills. And that's going to be a little bit, shoot, that's going to be, dang it. That's going to be difficult, I think. So, I mean, there's the data of the skill, which should obviously be a resource, and the data being like, what is the energy cost? What is the name? What's the description of the skill? What weapon type does the skill belong to? That obviously is going to need to be something. But then there's the question of like, how is the skill actually driven? Like, because I don't want to clutter up the player with all kinds of timers and states related to the skills. I wonder if, let me think. I wonder if there's something tricky I can do here. So when the state machine is created, if I go to my remote scene tree and I look at my entities here, this is my player. So the state machine, when the player is created, these states are all generated under the state machine. They're all nodes. And all that this state machine state is this is just a wrapper that I created around rewindable state that allows me to define everything that rewindable state expects with delegates. So these set enter state, set exit state, all this stuff, these are just creating delegates that get invoked when the rewindable states are entered. And what that allows me to do is that I can define inside the player, when I call create state machine, instead of trying to pass a bunch of context into the rewindable state, I can simply just say, here's the delegate that I want to use for the state. And then every delegate here has access to all of the player information. So I don't need to worry about like passing in 40 arguments or don't need to worry about passing in like 40 arguments or, you know, a context object to make sure that the state has everything that it needs because it's just inside of the player. But the problem is, if I want to avoid defining all of the skill states on the player script, then I'm back to that problem of like, I would need to pass in a giant context object to do all this stuff. Or just open up everything on the player for like public readability, which doesn't sound good to me. I mean, the real problem, I don't really necessarily have a problem with defining the states as part of the player, especially when they affect movement. I think that's actually very sensible. The main problem I have is like any secondary things that I need, like these tick timers. Those are going to end up cluttering the player scene structure here. Now, one option is that I could just dynamically create and free anything I need based on the state. So when I enter the state, I can create a new tick timer, add it as a child, and then, you know, free it. But the problem, though, is that I'll still need to have members in here for like the halberd skill tween and the tick timer component. So what I might do instead is I could create a node. I could create a node type that I can create when the player enters the halberd skill, and that node can house anything like the tweens and whatnot. So it could be like a little container object that contains all the stuff specific for the state, and then I can just reference that single skill object. So, and I could maybe even abstract this to some extent. So if I enter the halberd state, I could say, okay, here's the halberd skill node that contains all the data and functionality for the halberd skill. Or here's a skill node, right? It's just like a basic skill, like player driver node or whatever. And then I can use that to get the basic information that I need. I don't know if I could abstract it though. It might just have to be a concrete, like, here's the skill halberd, you know? And, but the benefit is I could get rid of these tick timers and I could get rid of this halberd skill tween, and all I need to do is store a reference to like the halberd skill object. And so that cuts down on it quite a bit, because then I would just have as many of these as I have skills in the game, which would still be a lot, but that's certainly more manageable. So that's probably the direction I should go in. I don't think I'm going to be able to generalize it such that I can create like an abstract skill class, because each of the skills is going to be doing slightly different things. I guess the other thing I could do is I could create Yeah, I think honestly, that's probably the best that I can do for now anyway, until I get more clarity on like what the variety of skills that I'm going to have in the game are. So I don't know, we'll see. Hello, Pocket Pixie. Another day, another stream. Yes. Is this Gunforge? No, this is my multiplayer prototype that I'm working on. So also feels like the skill code shouldn't sit directly on the player. Why aren't they directly under a specific skill component? Why aren't the skills under a specific skill component? The problem is that the skills need to be able to drive the player, and so the player context data needs to exist somewhere. And that the complication is that it also needs to be synchronized across all the clients. So I am married to this rewindable state machine in the player, because this is what, like, the rewindable state machine synchronizes all of the player states to all the clients across the network. So I can't really do anything without this. So I can't have a skill like directly take over the player, because that's going to bypass the synchronization mechanism. But I think that there's a midway point I can do, which is what I was talking about, where I have like a skill object that can contain all of the relevant data and logic for that skill. And then I'll still have to define the states in here, but I can at least get whatever information I need from that skill object, like the tick timers, like I was talking about, the halberd durations, you know, the animation stuff. I think I'm gonna move in that direction. I'm just gonna see how that works. It's not gonna be perfect, but it should be a little bit nicer than what I've got going on. And then that skill object will also just be a nice container for whatever skill resource I have, skill definition resource. I think. I don't know. We're gonna try it. We're gonna break some stuff. I think we're gonna figure it out. Are you restarting this if it becomes a full-fledged game? Are you restarting this if it becomes a full-fledged game? Well, I mean, I'm making this to become a full-fledged game. I mean, when I say prototype, really what I mean is like I'm going to try to build it up to the extent that it can be play tested, but you know, I'm pretty sure that I'm going to take, I mean, maybe I shouldn't say pretty sure. I have a reasonable amount of confidence that I'm going to take this into the direction of a full-fledged game, but it's prototypical in the sense that I don't know exactly how the gameplay is going to work. I don't know exactly how the skills are going to work. I don't know exactly how the itemization is going to work or the meta progression. And also, I'm not like committed to anything about the game. I'm not committed to the visual style. I'm not committed to, you know, what type of weapons there are going to be. I'm not committed to the environment art. Like, it's a prototype in the sense of like everything's up in the air right now, and I'm just trying to figure out like in what ways I can make the game to kind of make it the way I want it to be, if that makes sense. A skill object could have access to the state machine, or there could be a state called use skill, but networking always complicates things. Yeah. The problem is, in order to give a skill access to the state machine, I have to open up the what is the technical term for this? The permissions. That doesn't sound right. I'd have to open up the accessibility, that's the word, of a lot of the stuff in the player, because all of these state machine states are private. And I don't necessarily want to open those up publicly. So anyway, we're gonna move in that direction though, and I'm sure I'll find stuff that can be improved as we go. But before I go ahead with that little tiny refactor that I want to do, I want to remind everyone that Gunforged is available for purchase. So if you want to support my work, you can check out the link in the description below. I've also got Udemy courses available for sale. So if you want to learn how to build a complete game in the Godot engine, that's a great way to support my work and a great way to learn to do just that. Let me get a new drink. I'll be right back in just a couple minutes, and we will continue on with this work. Okay, I'm back. In case you haven't noticed, I'm right here. Do you see? Anyway, so yeah, let's see. So basically what I want to do is perhaps, I wonder, let me start with creating a skill resource. So let's create a new folder in here called skill. And we're going to create a skill resource. I'll call it a skill definition resource. I think that probably makes more sense. Scripts, data. I don't like this. I got to create a script through here so that it creates a UID. Skill definition resource. Oops, I put that in the wrong spot. Why does this not have a color? Okay. Skill definition resource. Namespace. Game.data. This is going to extend a resource, and this is going to be a global class. All right, and we're going to do some basic stuff. One of the basic stuffs we're going to do is we need an ID. So I'll go ahead and let's see. Yeah, I might just copy this kind of stuff here. So where is the get scene path? Oh. I don't think I really need to do that. I think I can just do res, scenes. Where would I put it? I don't know, I guess skill Pascal ID.tscn. Okay. Export public string display name get private set. Export public string energy cost. No, not a string. Float energy cost get private set. We'll just set this to something reasonable like 20. And we'll probably want some kind of description here. Public string description get private set. So that should be fine for now. So now we got to figure out how this skill is going to flow through the system here. Oh, you know what? I need to do energy cost. Let's do this. Export. I'm going to create a new folder in here. Enum. Data, enum, create new script. Namespace game.data.enum. So just move this out. Okay, and I shouldn't need to change that. I think those values are going to be the same. Should be all right. So then in here, public weapon type enum. Just call it weapon type. Get private set. Type enum.sword. Okay. Oops. Make sure I fix all that. Okay, I think that's good. Okay, so we got our skill definition resource here, which is going to load that. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create. So we got resources, skill. Let's create a new resource. We're going to call it. Well, let's see. I didn't build yet, so let's build. Create new resource, skill definition resource. We're going to call this, just call it spin for now. That's fine. Spin, display name, spin, description, spins, weapon type, halberd, energy cost 20. That's fine. Okay, so now I want to go into scenes, create new, let's see, game object. Yeah, we'll just create a folder here. Skill, create new scene. We'll just call it spin. Okay, and now what I want to do basically is take these timers and put them here. Get rid of these timers. And also get rid of this halberd skill tween. Create a skill folder there. Scripts, skill, spin. Okay, create that. Game dot skill. All right, and then node. Private tick timer component. What did I call it? Skill halberd tick timer. Halberd tick timer, and I think the other one is, whoops. Skill halberd duration tick timer. Okay, yeah, that's right. I'm just trying to think. So this now would become this. Private spin. So I think in here, what I could do is public void begin animation. The problem might be enter skill halberd. I don't think that this is going to be replicated across the clients. I'd have to create it inside of this enter skill halberd here, which I think is fine. Maybe, is it fine? Yeah, there's a couple of things that I need to do in here, but let's just do this. Halberd spin skill.begin animation, hands component. Public void begin timers. Long tick. So begin the timers here. Public void is damage timer stopped. Long tick. So just stopped. Okay. Public void start damage timer. Long tick. Skill halberd tick timer dot start tick. And then in here, if duration timer, public bool is duration timer just stopped. Okay, and then public void, I don't know, kill. And halberd skill tween dot kill if valid, queue free. If is instance valid, halberd spin skill, halberd spin skill dot queue free, or dot kill rather. Okay, so there's a little bit of trickiness here, which is that I need to be able to, I need to create that skill if it's not, if it doesn't exist. I'm gonna need to do that either in the display enter or in the enter state skill halberd. I think display enter will always happen first, but I don't know if I can rely on that. This needs to have tick passed in. So I mean, that cleaned up the player a little bit, which is nice. Especially the scene tree here. So what I need to do now is I need to be able to create that. But the whole reason I created that halberd, that spin resource is I need to now associate a skill with a weapon type. So what I'm going to do is I'll just do what I normally do. I just create a new file here, skill registry .cs. Skill registry, register skills, data. Oh goodness, base, skill, path. I don't think I'm gonna need to do this. I don't think I'm gonna need to duplicate these, so just get rid of this. Skill resource. Oh, skill definition resource. Skill definition resource. Skill definition resource. And is that it? Cool. So what I really want to do is I want to do public static skill definition resource get skill definition for weapon type. Weapon type enum, weapon type. And I'm going to do private static read only dictionary weapon type enum skill definition resource. So weapon type to skill definition. Weapon type to skill definition resource dot weapon type is equal to resource. Return weapon type to skill definition. Obviously this isn't safe if I'm missing a skill for a weapon type, but we'll deal with it for now. So this is what I really wanted, get skill definition for weapon type. So now what I can do is what I would probably do is do this. Private void create skill if not exists. And what I would do is I would have a weapon type here. So weapon type enum. Var's definition resource is equal to skill registry dot get skill definition for weapon type. Okay, var skill node is equal to definition resource dot to let's see. I've got the skill scene here. So let's do public node to node. Return skill scene dot instantiate node to node. Skill node is spin halberd spin skill is equal to spin. Add child skill node return. Or I guess we don't need to return, so we'll add the child there. Okay, so now in here, we can do create skill if not exists. Also, I need to do this. If not, this is kind of messy, but we'll figure it out later. If not is instance valid. Halberd spin skill. We're gonna do this. Yeah, I don't know if this is the best way to do it, but it's fine. It's fine. I'll find, maybe I'll come up with some kind of... Actually... I think the better way to do it would be this. If... Maybe I'll do this. Not is instance valid. What you call it? Halberd spin skill. We're gonna say skill node. Maybe we'll do that instead. This is definitely not safe, but gradual improvement. Create skill if not exists. So if the weapon type is halberd and we don't have the halberd spin skill, We're going to create that node for the skill, assign it, and then add the child. Okay. So then I should be able to do create skill if not exists. Yeah, the problem is display enter. I guess what I should probably do is actually do this in the handle skill input. Maybe that's where I want. No, that's not going to work. Yeah, that's not going to work. Okay, so what I probably want to do then is do this. You know what I might do actually is, let's do this instead. Instead of passing in a weapon type, let's do a skill definition resource. Skill definition weapon type is equal to halberd. Yeah, we'll do that. Skill definition resource. Okay, and then create skill if not exists. Skill registry dot from ID spin. I'll probably want to not have that magic string in there, but it's about time to see if this is actually going to work. And then if we exit, I think I also need to do this. It's a little bit unfortunate, but I don't know. I'm gonna have to refine this system a little bit more. Hello, Alex Sir Weaver. How you doing? Dione, welcome back. I'm doing well, thank you. Wanted to ask about Godot 4.4, but I see you're already using it. Yes, I am indeed. Yes, I am indeed. All right. I have no clue if this is gonna work. It's kind of sloppy, but it's better than what I had. Just try to get gradually better. Move gradually in the right direction. Okay, so that seems to have worked on this side with no errors, so that's good. If I join up now, let's see if it works on this side. Yeah, it seems to work. Cool. I keep getting these random guys being spawned here, which is not great, but what are these errors in here? Cannot access a disposed object. Oh, that's fun. Oh, I put this in the wrong thing, that's why. I feel like this should be moved down. Okay. And clear these errors so I get a proper notification if any new errors show up. Nice. Should also probably apply knockback when that hits enemies. Oh, maybe it is applying knockback. Okay. There's a lot of problems still, but that appears to be working. There are no errors, so that's good. Yeah, I'm not totally in love with this skill, but I think what's going to happen is I'm going to need to design probably 2 or 3 skills before I have a good idea of all the stuff that needs to be covered in any sort of skill system. And so I'm sure there is much more refactoring in my future. But the point is that now I have a way of avoiding cluttering the player scene tree as I start building some more skills. And so that's going to be great. Work on halberd spin skill. Okay, so there's one thing that's bothering me though. I mean, there's a lot of things that are bothering me, but the one thing that's bothering me right now is the problem is with this halberd spin whenever I create the damage here, this from direction, I think this is used for the knockback. Yeah, on hurt box hit, stagger direction. So the from direction, this actually needs to change. So hit parameters from direction. What I'm gonna do is public bool. Should I use the from direction? Yeah, I think so. So for directed attacks, like when you're swinging, the from direction is like, okay, what is the direction that the hitbox came from? But in the case of like the spin to win, it's just creating a circle in an area that's hitting everything. And so the from direction doesn't really make sense because like there is no directionality to the attack. It's like, so what needs to happen instead is the enemy needs to derive the stagger direction from the center of the hit. So what I need is like a public bool maybe like derive stagger direction or something. Or I could do, no. Yeah, I'm gonna have to do that. Now the fun thing is that I'm gonna have to, maybe if I do this, if I create a method in here, public vector2 get stagger or get from direction or something, node 2D hit receiver. What I would do is okay, if derive stagger direction, then we're going to return hitbox component from hitbox component dot global position dot direction to hit receiver dot global position. Otherwise, return from direction. I don't know if I want to do this, but well, this is kind of messy too, but whatever. At least now what I can do is I can say hit parameters dot get from direction this. So now I should be knocking things back properly. So if I hit, that's still a knockback, and then boom, 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 boom. So the stagger is important because that's what interrupts their animations. So like if you're doing spin to win, you obviously don't want to be getting hit while enemies are getting hit by you. So, but because the stagger direction wasn't working properly before, they were able to get hits off on you. So now that's fixed. And it's working in a networked fashion. That's great. Okay, so I think that's feeling good. So I think I need to do that interpolation now for the mouse motion. I should probably handle that before I go too deep on this stuff. So host, so again, like the problem is that if you see, this is the server window, you can see that the client that is not being controlled directly by the server, whenever I aim, it's like super choppy instead of smooth. So I need to interpolate that, and I don't actually know how I'm going to do that. So that's going to be fun. Player input component mouse position. Wonder why the tick interpolator doesn't work for input stuff. I'm kind of curious actually, how does the tick interpolator actually work? This creates a GD script version. So let's see, tick interpolator. Here. What is going on? State 2. State from state 2. For property and from, if not to, has property. Property cache. Okay, I don't know what any of this is doing. Property cache. It must just be, I mean, it seems pretty straightforward. It seems like it's just interpolating any property, but it must be the case that there's something happening in the input properties here that's not. Maybe it's the tick interpolator is conflicting. It probably is conflicting. It's probably... This should actually be global position. Yeah, I don't think, maybe you're not supposed to be... Why is this here? Oh, goodness gracious. Can I get rid of this? I'm just messing with stuff now. I don't know why that's there. Yeah, so the player input component, that definitely can't be there. There must be some kind of conflict happening. So I guess that makes sense, but I think I was fine in removing that current energy from the tick interpolator. That wasn't necessary anymore. Okay. All right, well, I'm gonna need to figure out how to interpolate that. I think the next thing to try with that interpolation is to do what? I think I unfortunately probably need to store like a previous position here. So private vector to previous mouse position. var current mouse position is equal to player input component dot mouse position. How actually is this interpolation gonna work? I guess I can just use a lerp. I guess I can just use a lerp, right? So current mouse position. Oh, no, I need to. Well, let's see. Var look at position is equal to previous mouse position dot lerp to current mouse position 1f minus mathf dot xp negative 15f times float get process delta time. So just do a normal lerp. Then I'm going to say previous mouse position is equal to look at position. And then we'll say, let's do this in order so it makes sense. Is this going to work? So this is going to remain the same for 1/30th of a second at a time. And the only thing that, so that's going to be the current mouse position. And the only thing that's going to change is the look at position over time. So I think that will work. Let me see. Let me see. Oh, I think I'm lerping it for the players that own the input as well. Oh yeah, but that's definitely nicer. Okay, so that's definitely nicer. So I only want to do the lerp. So let's see. If controlled by peer ID is equal to multiplayer manager.instance.multiplayer peer ID, then all we're going to do is we're going to look at the current position. So it's going to be perfectly snappy. So player input component dot mouse position. Otherwise, we're going to interpolate. Okay. Goodness gracious. Okay, so that works. So join up here. Cool. So yeah, the interpolation is happening for the non-owned players, which is great. Okay, I think that's working. I may increase this smoothing a little bit more. Let's see how that looks. Host join. Yeah, I think that looks nice. Oh, but the flip is not working. Oh, the other clients aren't being flipped. Interesting. Why are the other clients not being flipped? Oh. We don't need that to be in state normal here. I can do flip here to... Well, this is kind of a misnomer, but it's fine. That's going to be so confusing. Oh well, that's a problem for future me. Okay, so now the clients should all be flipping properly too to face the correct direction. Perfect. Okay, awesome. So yeah, that's actually good because the more I can derive on the client side, so I don't have to pass that transform, I can just derive the transform for the hands based on the mouse position. It's just one less property I have to send over the network, and I can interpolate it my own way, which makes it nice and smooth. So yeah, I think that's great. I think that's fine. Excellent. What kind of errors do I got down here? All the normal errors, that's fine. Okay, so... Oh, shoot. Well, whatever. Stagger and look at interpolation fixes. All right, so we're getting there. I think the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to work on a skill for the sword and see what I can come up with there. But I'm going to do that this afternoon off stream. Right now, it's time for lunch. So again, I have Gunforged available for sale. So if you're interested in supporting my work, you can definitely check that out, purchase it. It's a great way to support me. And I think it's also a very fun game. But also, I have Udemy courses available for sale, so if you want to learn how to build a complete game in the Godot engine, definitely check those out as well. And yeah, thank you all everyone for watching. Thank you all for chatting. It was great to see you all. And thank you to the VOD watchers and lurkers out there as well. I will see you tomorrow, 10 a.m. Eastern, same time, and we'll be working on this again. So hope to see you there, and have a good rest of your day. All right, bye-bye.